Hey, have you ever done any MLM marketing? MLM marketing? You're kidding, right? Don't tell me we're talking about MLM marketing today. Yeah, of course. Why not? Isn't that what we're here for this week? To talk about sales? I mean, I don't know about you. I want to talk about how to make more sales. No, we're not here to talk about sales. We're here to talk about how to get more customers. Why are you talking about MLM marketing? That's completely different. Well, when you think about it, MLM marketing, kind of masterful about getting customers, if you know what I mean, and making sales. They're a pyramid scheme. Come on. Get off of it already. Whoa, hold up. Who said anything about a pyramid scheme? They're not a pyramid scheme. Depends on how it's written up, actually. I guess that could be the case. But that's not actually why I want to talk about them today. Then get to the point already. If you would stop interrupting me, I would. Anyway, guys, today we're actually going to be watching another reaction video. And don't worry, it's not about MLM marketing. I only asked that question because I don't know about you, but I've joined quite a few MLM marketing companies in my lifetime. In fact, currently I'm still part of 2 of them. And the reason I'm part of them is because I am so cheap. My mom tries to tell me I'm frugal, but I tell her, no, I'm not frugal, because frugal implies that you budget. I'm cheap. If it's a good deal, I'm in, but I'm not here to sell that. Then what are you here for? When are you going to get to the point? I'm here today to do another reaction video about getting customers, and this one's particularly making sales. Today's video, I am reacting to how to make millions just by talking. 6-year-old girl owns $50 million marketing expert. And the marketing expert, his name is Frank Kern. In his intro video, he was saying that he has been basically working for himself since the 90s as a marketing expert, and that he's made like $50 million since he started his own business. Now, mainly what he does is he consults with businesses on how they can make millions of dollars, at least according to his description. So today he is telling the story of how a 6-year-old basically sold him on what they wanted. Seriously? A 6-year-old? How's that possible? Well, I guess we'll have to watch the video to find out. Anyway, today is day 20 of my 30-day YouTube challenge. This week, I am just reacting to business experts, and Frank Kern was the one that interested me today. Anyway, I've already watched this video, and I'm just doing the intro now, and I thought you guys may be wondering, what the hell is my expertise in selling? Well, besides the fact that before I started my own company way back in my 20s, I was a commission salesperson selling shoes at Sears. I was the #1 in my department. I have worked at retail stores before starting my own business, before entering the office world. But my secret shame, and also kind of my secret pride, is that I have joined a lot of MLM companies over the decades. Mary Kay was the first one that I joined. A few of them I really tried to grow in. I tried to get to the next level. But the problem was I was good at selling the product, but not good at selling the opportunity. And a part of that has to do with what Frank is going to talk about in his video today. For now, I say we just watch it. I'm in. What are we still doing here? Let's go watch the show. Okay, let's get this started. Before we do this, I'm going to go ahead and speed up because I feel like he talks a little slow. I'm going to put him at 1.5. That'll make the video shorter. Right now, the video is 12 minutes and 10 seconds, and this should probably bring it down to about 9 minutes. I don't know about you. I like shorter videos, so let's do this.
I'm about to show you a psychological sales tactic that is so unbelievably effective that you would think it should be illegal. It's like one of the most manipulative things in the world. However, there's a catch to this. You can't use it for evil. It won't work. And I learned it from a little 6-year-old girl. But before I tell you what this thing is, you need to believe this. The weirdest thing happened to me. I went to Las Vegas recently for my birthday. And for the second time in a row, in the same hotel and in the exact same location, I randomly was exposed to some stranger's genitalia. I know it sounds completely crazy, but this really happened, and it ties into this whole method. So years ago, I'm in Vegas at the Wynn Encore specifically. You know how I have that little flower thing? There's a little tunnel of flowers. So I'm walking to dinner, gonna meet some friends, and I see these 2 girls, and they're like trying to take selfies, you know, like around the flowers. So being the nice, normal person that I am, I was like, "You want me to take your picture for you?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." I'm like, "Okay, great." Lady gives me your phone. I'm like, all right, go. And right when I go to take the picture, girl #1 goes to do a split, probably, and I'm hoping, probably forgetting the fact she had forgotten to put on underwear. Everything's exposed right when I take the picture. Thank God it was on her phone. And I'm like, here you go. Here's your phone back. She knew what happened. I knew what happened. Neither of us said anything. Off we go. Never to be seen again. Come home, tell Natalia. I'm like, you ain't gonna believe this. And she's like, good God, what the heck is going on over there? So was just in Vegas again, all right, for my birthday recently. All arranged by my wife. It was wonderful. We had the greatest time. I'm on my way to meet her and 2 of our friends for dinner. And I'm walking through the exact same part of the Wynn where they have the big little flower tunnel thing. And there's this couple and they're walking towards me. And I'm like, hey, you know, how's it going? And I notice that the wife was wearing a skirt, and you know how like people have those skirts where the slits like way up the thigh or whatever? I think it was one of those. I hope it was one of those. But it was turned. Like she had been sitting down and the waistline of the skirt got turned. So everything's just, you know, right there on display. And then 10 steps later, I'm like, oh my God, the whole, whatever you want to refer to it as was right there on display. So I'm like, should I go and be like, hey man, you know, I know this is weird, but like you might want to move your skirt or something. And I decided not to because her husband would probably think I was like some weirdo and kill me. So anyway, we get to dinner, super nice restaurant. And I'm telling to tell you again, and our friends are like, you are not going to believe this. Like, I'm walking over here. I saw the old package, and then they're like, what did you do? I'm like, absolutely nothing. I kept going because I don't think there's any right thing to do in that situation except just like pretend to
Tell her.
and go. But it was one of the greatest trips ever. Have you ever had like a really, really good birthday? You get whatever gift you want. The day itself is really good. Everything just goes like really smoothly. You end up having a great time and you spend it with your friends and it's awesome. That's what that entire weekend was like, even including that experience because it was funny, So like we go on this trip, Natalia and I went, we hadn't been anywhere since COVID, by the way, so we just been doing like grown up work stuff. So it's our first time going out of the house without the children. We meet two of our friends in Las Vegas. We're there for 2 days. It was fantastic. And sometimes if you like go on vacation and you meet friends and you're like, hey, where do you want to eat? And one person's like, I don't know, where do you want to go? And the other person's like, well, let's go here. And the other person's like, oh, I have an allergy to lint. None of that happened. Like everything was absolutely perfect. Everything went smoothly, nothing but fun the entire time. And it was the greatest birthday ever. All right. So you're probably like, dude, why are you telling me this semi-inappropriate story? It's related. All right. So what I want to do for you is I'm going to tell you the formula of how to do this thing. And again, it really only can be used for good. Like you can't get people to do what they don't want to do with this. I'll give you the steps and then I'll give you an example. So hopefully that'll drive it all home. And weirdly enough, I learned this from my daughter. So I'm lucky enough to have 3 daughters. I got 3 daughters, 1 son. I learned this from my firstborn child, Nora, who is one of the most persuasive human beings ever to walk the planet. Here's the formula. Write down the formula. Then I'll show you what it all means. These steps might not mean anything yet, but here they are. So step number 1, know your objective. All right. So knowing your objective just means like, what's the desired outcome that you want to achieve by doing this psychological manipulation? Step number 2 is to ask an anchoring question, not an angering question, an anchoring question. Okay. So if you're taking notes, that's the note. 1, know your objective. 2, ask an anchoring question. An anchoring question is a question that anchors them back to a positive memory that is somehow related to the thing you want them to do. And ultimately that's going to be like to give you something or buy your stuff, right? So the 3rd step is to highlight and praise. Okay. So what that means is your anchoring question is going to be somehow related to the thing that you ultimately want, your main objective. All right. So highlight and praise means to highlight the part of the anchoring question that's usually story related, that is relevant to the thing that you want, and then talk about how cool that was. That psychologically further anchors the other person to this feeling of like general goodness around the whole idea of what you're about to try to accomplish. Step 4 is to transition to talking about the thing you want, the objective. All right. And then step 5 is to ask for it. So those are the steps. So now that
I don't know about you, but for me, the hard part of that equation is always ask for it. I always seem to have a problem asking for the sale.
No, let me give you an example so it all makes sense. And this video doesn't seem like a weird story about a random genital exposure in Las Vegas, which, swear to God, 2 different occasions, years apart in the exact same place. I don't know what they're doing over there at the Wynn, but whatever, as long as they're having a good time. Let me give you the example. All right, so like I said, I learned this from my daughter when she was little, like 6. This is what she would do. Let's say she wanted us to bake cookies. So that was step 1. She would know.
So that's where the 6-year-old part comes in. Good to know.
The objective. And then instead of saying like, hey, will you guys bake some cookies? Because that's really easy to say no to. She would ask us an anchoring question. And the question would be around something that involved cookies. So in this example, she would internally know what she wanted, which was, us to make some cookies. And she would be like, man, do you remember how cool last Thanksgiving was? That question is the anchoring question because Thanksgiving was cool. We can all agree that it was cool. We had a good time and it is related to cookies because we had cookies there. The next step would be the praise and highlight part of this. So we're like, yeah, man, it was great. See, that's some small talk about how cool Thanksgiving was, how fun it was, yada, yada, yada. And then we would start focusing in on the fact that cookies were there. That's the praise and highlight. So she would say something like, man, I remember the food was so great and the desserts were really, really good. What was your favorite? And then you would answer, and then she would say something like, I think my favorite were the cookies. I really liked those cookies. So she's now taken this situation where we're just hanging out watching television or whatever, completely taken control of our entire train of thought by asking a question and then directed our focus towards dessert and now specifically cookies. In step 4, what she would do is she would transition into the thing that she wanted. So she would shift the conversation away from Thanksgiving directly to cookies in general. So we established Thanksgiving was awesome. The food was awesome. The desserts were great. We all loved the cookies. And that was done in the prior steps. And now in transitioning to the objective, she'd be like, man, I don't know about you. I love cookies. What's your favorite kind of cookie? So now the focus is literally entirely on cookies, which is where she wants your focus to be all along. And then finally, at the end of the conversation, she would then go, what would be really cool is if we could bake some cookies now. Can we? That would be awesome. And at that stage, you're already pre-sold on cookies to the point where you're like, yeah, okay. She got us with that little pattern for forever. It still works actually, because it's that effective. So that method is powerfully effective, which is incidentally why I started with the story about Las Vegas in the beginning of this video. I know you see a lot of videos on YouTube and you see a lot of people saying, here, today I'm going to show you how to do this thing or whatever. So the first thing I had to do was I had to break your pattern by talking about random genitalia sighting, which really happened. You don't necessarily have to do that when you're doing this type of thing. Then I started bringing up a story because we're not together, so I can't ask you a direct question and control the conversation. So I started anchoring back to something that most people have very positive memories about, which are birthdays, specifically having a good time with birthdays, being with friends, and then even more specifically, going towards the objective, which is everybody being on the same page and agreeing on the same thing. So if you recall during that story, I was like, hey, when everyone just went like, where do you want to go? And we all wanted to go to the same place and everything was cool and just everything was smooth and fun. So that was me focusing in on the objective. At this stage, like in this particular video, it wouldn't fit the equation for me to ask you to do anything. But if I wanted to, in that specific example, if I like kind of took the teaching part out of it, I could have started introducing stories about building rapport with people and then ultimately made the transition into like trying to offer a lead magnet about how to build rapport or ultimately maybe even sell a product about rapport building. But you get it. The framework works. It works in print, it works in video, and it works exceptionally well in person. And I will again caution you, this will not work if you try to use it for evil. This only works to get someone to do something that deep down they want to do anyway. With the example of my daughter, of course I want to like make cookies with my little girl. Like, of course I want to make my child happy. This wouldn't work if you wanted to try to get someone to do something that was harmful to them or whatever. Not that you would try, but I do want to make that abundantly clear. But ultimately, I guess the point is selling and persuading can be really fun. And it can be an enjoyable process, not only for you, but also for the person on the other end of it. And now I'm kind of wishing I didn't lead with the video with the random genitalia sighting, but it did work to break the pattern and it did really happen. So we're going to leave it in, but maybe don't tell stories about that because that's just kind of weird now that we're thinking about it. But nonetheless, those are the steps. The process works great. And I hope you use it for good. And as a result of that, I hope you make a lot of money and help a lot of people. Thanks for watching my stuff. Take it easy.
So what did you guys think? I thought that was interesting. I do have some notes because that's just how I am. And my notes actually come from the MLM marketing world. The MLM marketing world is kind of my secret shame and my secret joy. And the reason I say it's my secret shame is because I have never actually been able to be successful at the MLM industry. I have joined many MLM companies over the years, and I've never really been able to move up in the rankings simply because there's some part of me that is resistant to asking people to pay money to join something that I think is great, but isn't necessarily for everybody. And I think the people that are successful at MLM marketing, they can just ride right over those objections. They could just be like, this is the best opportunity ever. It doesn't matter if you don't have the money for it or the time for it or whatever, you need to do this. And they can do that without feeling guilty. Me, I couldn't do it. I joined Mary Kay over 20 years ago. I'm still part of Mary Kay, and I'm also part of Color Street, which is a company that has to do with nails. And I actually joined Color Street because when you're a flight attendant, your nails break every single time you touch the carts, every single time. And a passenger handed me these nail strips, and it's like having shields on your nails. So I joined them just so I could get the product at a discount. I joined Mary Kay so I could get the product at a discount. I am incredibly cheap. My mom tries to tell me I'm frugal, and I say, no, frugal implies that I budget. I don't budget. I'm just cheap. I know a good deal when I see one, and I jump on it. And that is why I have joined multiple MLM companies over the years. And there were times that I did try to move up in the company, and I learned as much as I possibly could about closing the deal, because that has always been my problem. It's always been step number 5, ask for it, right? I would ask for the deal, and some part of me in the back of my brain would be like, is this really a good deal for them? And I think, if you're in business, you have to get over that. You have to fully believe that your product is a good deal, or you are going to block yourself like that. If you have employees, the same thing is going to happen with them. If they don't believe that your product is the best product, if they don't believe it's worth the money, if they don't believe it's a great deal, they're going to be a roadblock in your sales. So you need to find out from your employees if they also agree that your product is a great deal, a great price, all of that stuff, and kind of talk to them and sell them on why it's appropriately priced. But having said that, I do have some notes from the MLM marketing world on some of these things. So, step 1, know your objective and the customers. Since this week, I'm reacting to all these business experts, and the theme this week is how to get more customers. I have found that knowing your objective and customers is actually pretty easy. Generally, in the MLM marketing world, we would be trying to get an appointment with them. One of the things I learned from Mary Kay a long, long time ago is that you can open the door to a conversation with somebody by simply finding something genuine to compliment them on. I've been doing this ever since. When I learned that in Mary Kay, I have found that I love looking for things that are genuine and real about people and then complimenting them on that. Especially with women. With women, you don't even have to tell them that they're beautiful. You just tell them that you like something that they're wearing, you like their hair, you like their earrings. They love getting compliments, and a lot of times they don't get them. Even being told, I like your shirt, mentally to them is like saying, I like your taste. You have good taste. So it goes farther than how they look. Doing something like that opens the door to a conversation. And that's one of my best skills as a flight attendant. I have no problem with passengers at all. Passengers have gotten on the plane and chewed me out and yelled at me because they're mad at the airline. They're mad at their day of travel. And by the time they get off my plane, they're usually like, "You're the best flight attendant ever. I'm so sorry I said all of that." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. Suck it." I don't really say suck it. But a part of me in my head is like, "Ah," you know what I mean? So anyway, when you ask an anchoring question to a positive memory, I could see how that would work. I really do. I don't really know how to put that into the MLM world, but that part, the getting the customers part, very easy. You just give them a genuine compliment and you wait till the door opens. And at some point during the conversation that you have with them, you'll find an opening to an invitation of taking them to the next level to get to the anchoring part, to get to your highlight and praise, to get to your transition. Now, the ask for it part was the other part of the equation that I always had a problem with. And of course, that was because I was my own roadblock. So what I learned from the MLM marketing world, as far as the ask for the sale part, is easy in restaurants and retail because you're literally saying, "Can I ring you up?" That's it. You might do an upsell before you ask that question, like, "Hey, would you like dessert with your dinner?" Or, if they're buying shoes, "Hey, do you need some socks with these shoes?" Something like that. And then you say, "Can I ring you up?" That's asking for the sale in the small business world, like if you have a small business with a physical location versus if you have a business online, which I feel like is a little bit different. As far as the MLM marketing part, asking for it was often like, "Hey, do you want to join the organization too?" And then you get this discount all the time. What I've always learned from the top closers at an MLM is that after you've asked for the question, you don't really ask. You assume that they want this. And you say, "Are you ready to sign up?" And you kind of push the application in front of them. I would try that. And then you were always supposed to expect objections. And then you were supposed to just repeat the objections back and try to turn it around on them and try to get them into saying yes again, which was always my problem. And you were really supposed to shut up and listen. And that was also my problem. I was not good at shutting up and listening because some part of my mind would always be analyzing, like, is this really the best thing for them? I don't know if it is. This might not fit into their lifestyle. I don't want to push them into this. So that's something you need to think about with your employees. Do they also believe that your products are the best products? Do they also believe the pricing is right? Do they also believe that this is actually going to help the customer in front of them? If it's just a store, they don't have enough time to get to know your customer. So that's not a big deal. But if it is something more, if it is an opportunity you're selling, if it's something like that, then you have to kind of sell your salespeople first. Because that was the problem for me. I wasn't sold. My question of the day for you: what's your biggest problem when it comes to asking for the sale? I would love to know. Put your answer in the comments below. If you like this, please hit the like button, share it, hit the subscribe and the notification bell. Tomorrow is my last reaction video day. It'll be day 21. And I am going to be reacting to whatever is trending about how to get customers tomorrow. So come back for that. And then after that, I'm going to start a new series next week. Thank you guys for watching. See you tomorrow.